Let's be honest, nobody saw this coming. Not the fans, not the analysts, and probably not even the front office 2 weeks ago. But here we are. Jordan Phillips is officially back for a fourth stint with the Buffalo Bills. And whether you're scratching your head or pumping your fist in excitement, this move says more about the team's current situation than it does about nostalgia. It's not just about bringing back a fan favorite. Though Phillips has certainly earned that status with Bills Mafia, it's about one thing: defensive line stability heading into Week 1. And let's not sugarcoat it. This defensive tackle group is inexperienced, inconsistent, and dangerously thin behind the starters. So yes, Jordan Phillips is back. But this isn't just a homecoming story. This is a strategic hedge, a calculated move from a coaching staff that's clearly not convinced by what they've seen so far from the young guys. When the news first broke, Jordan Phillips visiting the Bills and expected to sign, it felt more like a rumor than a legitimate possibility. The man had made it pretty clear that if he wasn't wearing a Buffalo jersey, he wasn't wearing an NFL jersey at all. This was either going to be the Bills or retirement. And despite the injuries, despite the age, and despite the ups and downs of his career, here he is, about to suit up again. It's official now. He even posted a photo from the locker room with his new number, 52, since Joey Bosa now wears 97. And while the number might be different, the energy he brings, that's the same Jordan Phillips who waved his arms to fire up the crowd, who brought real juice to this defensive front when healthy, and who never lacked confidence or intensity on the field. But if you're wondering why now, the answer is actually pretty simple once you break it down. The Bills are about to walk into a Week 1 matchup with the Baltimore Ravens, one of the most physical, smart, and run-heavy teams in the league. Last season, Baltimore exposed Buffalo's weaknesses up front. They out-schemed them, out-leveraged them, and in key moments out-muscled them. Fast forward to today, and the Bills are looking at their interior defensive line and realizing they're about to give major reps to players who have never even stepped on an NFL field in a real game. TJ Sanders, Deion Walker, and Dwayne Carter have all flash potential, no doubt. But potential doesn't slow down the Ravens' rushing attack. Potential doesn't eat up double teams, anchor against power runs, or handle complex read option looks. Experience does. And right now, all three of those young tackles have 0 NFL regular season snaps combined. That's a red flag. Dwayne Carter is technically entering his second season, but the truth is he hasn't shown enough, last year or this preseason, to make the coaching staff believe he's ready to be a meaningful contributor. Walker and Sanders? Intriguing rookies. But both are raw. And again, Week 1 is Baltimore. You don't want to be experimenting in the trenches when you're up against Lamar Jackson and a diverse, punishing ground game. Even if Ed Oliver plays 60 to 70% of snaps and Daquan Jones gives you 50 to 55%, that still leaves dozens of reps where you're relying on guys who've barely found their footing in the league. That's not sustainable. That's not smart football. And that's where Jordan Phillips comes in. But there's more, because it's not just the rookies that are raising questions. There's also Larry Ogunjobi. Suspended for the first 6 games of the season, Ogunjobi had every reason to leave a strong impression during camp and the preseason. Instead, he looked average at best. He was playing deep into the 3rd preseason game, which is usually reserved for guys fighting for a roster spot or veterans who need extra reps because of time missed. And against the Buccaneers' 3rd-string offensive line, Ogunjobi looked ordinary. That's not what you want to see from a player you're counting on to come back mid-season and make an impact. The Bills have to assume that whatever Ogunjobi gives them later, they can't bank on it now. So again, it's all about hedging. It's about plugging holes before the water really starts to rise. Now, the most interesting part of this signing might not be Jordan Phillips himself. It's the corresponding move. Because make no mistake, bringing Phillips back to the active roster and not the practice squad signals that someone else is on the way out. And right now, the most likely odd man out is Dwayne Carter. That's a tough pill to swallow. He's a 3rd-round pick entering his 2nd year. And if the Bills outright release him, it's a pretty brutal indictment of his development. But let's be honest, it wouldn't be shocking. If they can't justify keeping him over a veteran like Phillips, then his spot is in serious jeopardy. Ideally, of course, the Bills would trade Carter. You're not getting a massive return, but maybe you get a 7th-round pick, or maybe you package him with a late rounder and try to climb up to the 6th or 5th. Something like Carter and a 7 for a 6 is probably the best you can do. But you never know. There are teams out there that liked him coming out of college. Teams that might still believe they can tap into his upside and turn him into a rotational contributor. And if you can flip him for anything instead of cutting him outright, that's a win at this point. So now we ask the question again. Why not stash Jordan Phillips on the practice squad? Let him work his way up. Let the young guys prove they can't handle it. Then make the call in week 3 or 4. On paper, that would make sense. But the fact that the team is bringing him in immediately to the active roster tells you everything. They're not just hedging, they're reacting to what they've seen. They're admitting that this depth group is not where it needs to be. And they're not going to wait around and find out the hard way in a real game. This all lines up with what we saw in the Bills versus Buccaneers preseason finale. And one of the biggest takeaways from that game was the rise of Deone Walker. The rookie looked outstanding, balanced, physical, disruptive. He flashed power, quickness, and the ability to shed blocks and finish plays. But as good as he looked, you can't ignore how much of that came from T.J. Sanders taking on double teams and freeing up one-on-one looks. That's the formula, right? One guy eats the doubles, the other guy wins solo matchups. Walker won those. He showed everything you want to see from a young, developing interior lineman. But there were still moments where he got washed out on run plays. A double team would hit, and Walker would get moved. That's going to happen to rookies. It's why you can't just throw them into the fire against NFL starting offensive lines and expect consistency. The flashes are real, but they're just that, flashes. Same goes for Cole Bishop, who also had a nice bounce-back performance after a rough outing against the Bears. He played only 12 snaps, but made them count. 2 strong tackles, a downhill trigger play, and a standout 3rd down stop where he dropped into the whole zone and broke up a slant with perfect timing. That's the kind of aggression and intelligence the Bills want from him. But again, it's 12 snaps. You don't crown anyone off of that. Encouraging? Absolutely. Enough to erase concerns? Not yet. And while we're on receivers, don't sleep on Christian Wilkerson. 5 catches, 40 yards, consistent all preseason, and he blocks, seriously blocks. That matters. If you're going to be a depth receiver in this offense, you better run clear outs, you better block in the run game, and you better stay ready. Wilkerson does all 3. He may not make the final cut, but he's a practice squad priority, no question. On the offensive line, keep an eye on the interior battles. With Cedric Van Pran-Granger likely to start the year on the PUP list, the team needs a swing guy. Kendrick Green may have the edge over Dan Feeney. Despite giving up a sack against Tampa, Green has been steady. He's athletic, plays both guard and center, and has starting experience. He's not flashy, but he's functional, and in a backup role, that's all you need. Tight end Jackson also quietly confirmed what the staff probably already knew. Only 37 total snaps this preseason. Barely any special teams. But when he's on the field, he's effective. Physical, smart, technique sound. He's clearly locked in as the 3rd tight end. They didn't need to see more. He did his job. So as the Bills approach the final cut-down deadline, it's becoming clear what kind of team they want to build. They want physicality, experience, and discipline in the trenches. That's what Jordan Phillips brings. He's not a long-term solution. He's not a Pro Bowler anymore. But right now, he's exactly what they need. A veteran body, a familiar face, and someone who's not afraid to bring the juice when it matters most. Let's pivot from the trenches and move into what's shaping up to be one of the most unpredictable and fluid parts of the roster, cornerback depth. And if the final preseason game told us anything, it's that the Bills coaching staff is either hiding their hand or still trying to figure out the rotation themselves. Because how they handled reps against the Buccaneers left us with more questions than answers. It started with Dane Jackson and Dorian Strong on the outside. Now, Strong played just 16 snaps and was the first corner off the field. Jackson? He stayed out there for 37. That's a massive workload, especially for a guy with NFL starts under his belt. But here's the twist. Jamarcus Ingram came in to replace Strong and logged 17 snaps. So now you've got Strong starting but getting pulled early Jackson grinding through nearly 3 full quarters, and Ingram stepping in mid-game. What does it mean? On the surface, you can spin it a few ways. Maybe the staff views Jackson as a sure thing and just wanted to get him live reps to get back into rhythm. Maybe Dorian Strong was given the start as a test, a way to see if he could handle the spotlight. And when the answer was not really, they quickly adjusted. Or maybe, just maybe, Tre'Davious White's injury isn't as serious as we feared, and this was all just rotational filler while the team waits for its CB1 to return. Either way, what we saw wasn't a clear declaration of who's starting opposite Christian Benford. It was a shrug. A maybe. A let's see what happens kind of setup that tells you the staff is still evaluating and probably hoping for more clarity over the next few days. But it's not just about who starts. It's about who sticks. This room is dealing with injuries, inconsistency, and tough decisions. Maxwell Harrison is likely headed to injured reserve to start the year. Jordan Hancock is banged up too, and if the Bills want to use that injury to sneak someone else onto the 53 before placing Hancock on IR, it's a move that makes total sense. It's one of those roster gymnastics tricks that experienced front offices use to squeeze out every drop of flexibility. You carry the injured player through final cuts, place him on IR the next day, and suddenly you've opened a spot for someone like Derek Forrest, who, by the way, quietly played his best game of the preseason. Now, yes, Forrest played late into the game, which is usually a sign that a player is on the bubble or even on the outside looking in. But sometimes it's not about the timing. It's about what you do with the reps you get. And Forrest made the most of his. He was physical, aggressive, and flashed instincts that we hadn't consistently seen earlier in camp. So maybe, just maybe, he benefits from a numbers game and squeezes onto the roster, especially if someone like Hancock hits short-term IR. Now let's talk trades, because with cuts looming, you better believe phones are ringing across the league. The Bills are no exception. There's always a chance that someone like Elijah Moore could be on the move. He's a name that's popped up in conversations. And when you look at a team like Minnesota, who desperately needs receiver depth behind Justin Jefferson, it's not a crazy fit. The Bills could leverage that interest and try to turn a fringe roster player into some late-round draft capital. Again, you're not looking to win these trades. You're just trying to flip expiring value into future opportunity. Same goes for Dwayne Carter, who we mentioned earlier. He's clearly on the edge, and rather than cut him outright, the Bills would love to move him for something. Anything. A future 6th, a conditional 7th, maybe even as part of a swap deal where both teams exchange fringe prospects. These deals are happening all over the league right now. This is the window where front offices can get creative and make something out of nothing. Curtis Samuel is another name you can't totally rule out. If the Bills decide they're happy with their receiver room and need help elsewhere, Samuel could be a movable piece. It's not likely, but the cap savings and the potential return might be tempting if the right offer comes along. Now, one name that keeps coming up in trade speculation, but probably shouldn't? A.J. Epineza. Let's squash that right now. Unless something changes drastically in the next few days, don't expect the Bills to move on from a pass rusher they trust, especially when guys like Landon Jackson and Javon Solomon haven't done enough yet to fully convince the staff. Jackson, in particular, has been inconsistent. He flashed in his second preseason game, had a couple of solid rush reps, showed a bit of juice, but then faded again. His game is still very much under construction. Too many body-to-body rushes, not enough creativity, not enough urgency on certain plays. He's got potential, but he's not ready to replace someone like Epineza in a rotation that needs guys who can hold the edge and get home with 4. Same goes for Solomon. He's shown flashes, but you don't bet your edge depth on flashes. And with Michael Hoy working his way back into the mix, the rotation is going to get even more competitive. So for now, Epineza stays. And that's the right move. Let's swing back to the offensive side again for a minute, because there's one player who quietly impressed during this final dress rehearsal. Jackson Haw. This guy has done nothing but execute every time he's been called upon. He hasn't played a lot, just 37 snaps total in the preseason. But when he's in the game, he's impactful. Whether it's sealing the edge in the run game or climbing to the second level with precision, Haw looks like a guy who just gets it. He's not flashy. He's not going to wow you with athleticism. But he understands leverage, he finishes blocks, and he plays with balance and control. That's what you want in your TE3. The staff knows what they've got. That's why he barely saw the field. They didn't need to see more. They're comfortable. Now, you could argue they should have given him more special teams looks. He only had 3 reps there across 3 games, but it's clear they view him as a plug-and-play option if needed. That's big for depth. That's the kind of quiet roster win that you don't appreciate until you need it mid-season, and he steps in without missing a beat. Back to the wide receiver group real quick, because there's a real battle brewing for those final spots. Tyrell Shavers and Christian Wilkerson both made cases. Shavers has the highlight reel, circus catch, toe tap, lead blocking on special teams. He's the flashier name. But Wilkerson? He's been Mr. Reliable. Every week, he's made plays. Every week, he's blocked like a madman. And if you're building out a receiver room that can contribute in multiple phases of the game, Wilkerson might be more valuable than he gets credit for. Again, he may not make the initial 53, but he should absolutely be back on the practice squad if he clears waivers. You don't let a guy like that walk away without a fight. We also need to talk about the interior offensive line again. Kendrick Green versus Dan Feeney is a real decision. Feeney has more experience, but Green has looked better this summer. He's quicker, more versatile, and offers slightly more upside. The fact that he's been with the team longer this offseason also helps. He's had time to learn the system, get comfortable with the coaching staff, and build chemistry. It's tight, but Green might have the edge. Again, this is about who can survive a spot start without the offense collapsing. Green looks like that guy right now. So now, with the final cut deadline staring them in the face, the Bills are entering a chaotic, high-stakes window. Every hour, every rep, every piece of film is under review. And it's not just about this week. It's about September. It's about Baltimore. It's about being ready to fight in one of the toughest divisions in football. You can't afford to be soft in the trenches. You can't afford to have liabilities in space. You can't afford to have special teams players who can't cover kicks or fill gaps. Every roster spot matters. Every move has ripple effects. And it's why moves like bringing back Jordan Phillips matter. It's not sentimental. It's strategic. You're adding a guy who knows the system, who knows the locker room, and who gives you a better shot at controlling the line of scrimmage. He's not a long-term answer, but he's a smart bet in the short term. It's a signal to the rest of the team that mediocrity won't cut it. If you haven't earned your spot, someone else is ready to take it. That's where the Bills are right now. Decisions are being made. Rooms are getting cleared. Phones are buzzing. And the message is clear: no more experiments. It's time to set the table for week 1, and it's going to get cutthroat. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Jordan MAILATA, often hailed as the human wall for his seemingly impenetrable presence on the field, has reportedly shocked the NFL world by making a move from the Philadelphia Eagles to the Buffalo Bills, sparking a wave of speculation and excitement among fans, analysts, and insiders alike. Rumors circulating within the league suggest that this transfer is more than a simple player exchange. It is being framed as a seismic shift in offensive line strategy that could redefine the Bills' approach to protecting their quarterback and dominating the trenches. Sources close to the organization hint that MAILATA's unmatched combination of size, agility, and technique was a decisive factor in the decision to pursue him aggressively, with the Bills allegedly willing to rework salary structures and draft considerations to accommodate this game-changing talent. The whispers around league circles suggest that coaches are already envisioning how MAILATA's presence could elevate not only the offensive line, but also the entire offensive playbook, offering unprecedented protection against elite pass rushers. Meanwhile, Philadelphia insiders are reportedly grappling with the implications of losing one of their most consistent and physically dominant linemen, creating a swirl of speculation regarding potential replacements and whether the Eagles' offensive schemes will need a complete overhaul to compensate for this sudden vacuum. Fans have taken to social media with a mixture of awe and disbelief, debating the potential impact of this blockbuster acquisition and theorizing how the Bills' offensive rhythm could shift dramatically with MAILATA anchoring the line. The rumor mill suggests that this move is far from ordinary, with some insiders even hinting at secret strategies being developed behind closed doors, emphasizing the high stakes and dramatic potential of this transfer. If confirmed, this acquisition could very well mark the beginning of a new era for Buffalo, creating a ripple effect across the league that other teams might scramble to counter, igniting a frenzy of discussions, speculations, and hypothetical scenarios that are feeding the rumor-fueled excitement surrounding this remarkable football transaction. The narrative surrounding MAILATA's reported switch to Buffalo is intensifying, with sources indicating that the offensive line dynamics could be completely transformed by his arrival. The Bills are rumored to be rethinking their blocking schemes, considering MAILATA's rare ability to combine brute strength with remarkable mobility for someone of his size, allowing quarterbacks unprecedented time in the pocket. Analysts and insiders are buzzing about the potential ripple effects of this move, speculating that it could force defensive coordinators league-wide to rethink their approach to pass rushing when confronted with a lineman of such unique physical and technical capabilities. Discussions in locker rooms and executive offices reportedly revolve around the MAILATA factor, with scouts projecting how his presence could create mismatches that amplify the effectiveness of Buffalo's running game, while simultaneously shoring up protection against elite edge rushers. Social media chatter has also escalated, with fans debating everything from potential jersey numbers to the strategic implications for upcoming matchups, highlighting how a single player can generate such widespread and multifaceted intrigue. The buzz extends to fantasy football communities, where the presence of a dominant lineman like MAILATA is rumored to increase quarterback performance projections, sparking heated debates over draft strategies and player valuations. Insider sources hint that this rumored acquisition has already prompted rival teams to evaluate their offensive line vulnerabilities, considering whether their current rosters can withstand the pressure of a MAILATA-anchored front. Even casual observers are reportedly captivated, with the conversation moving beyond traditional fan bases to mainstream sports discourse, signaling that the rumor of MAILATA's move is capturing attention not just for its immediate tactical implications, but also for its broader cultural and media impact. This swirl of speculation, while unconfirmed, is feeding a narrative that MAILATA could redefine Buffalo's offensive identity, offering both immediate and long-term strategic advantages that other teams might scramble to match, making this one of the most tantalizing storylines of the NFL offseason. The speculation surrounding MAILATA's move from Philadelphia to Buffalo is fueling a frenzy that extends beyond typical trade rumors, with sources suggesting that internal discussions within the Bills organization are hinting at a complete recalibration of offensive priorities. League insiders are reportedly analyzing film with renewed intensity, dissecting MAILATA's technique, his lateral mobility, and his ability to dominate in one-on-one matchups, leading to debates about how his skill set could unlock new possibilities for both the run and pass game. Coaches are rumored to be envisioning scenarios where MAILATA's presence allows for more complex offensive schemes, potentially opening lanes for running backs who previously struggled to gain consistent yardage behind less imposing lines. Meanwhile, Philadelphia's loss of MAILATA is generating its own speculative chatter, with rumors suggesting that the Eagles may enter a scramble to identify a comparable talent, or even adjust their play style to compensate for a significant drop in line dominance. Social media continues to amplify the narrative, with fans theorizing about game-by-game implications, imagining how defensive coordinators will adapt to this potential wall of human muscle now stationed in Buffalo. Analysts are debating whether MAILATA's rumored signing signals a broader trend of investing heavily in elite offensive linemen as a strategic priority, and whispers suggest that rival franchises are quietly evaluating potential moves to counteract what could become a significant competitive advantage. Conversations in sports media hint that MAILATA's influence could extend beyond pure blocking ability, affecting team morale, confidence, and the overall perception of Buffalo's offensive resilience. Even the minutiae of draft picks and salary cap maneuvers are being dissected through the lens of MAILATA's potential impact, with rumors hinting that his acquisition might set off a domino effect of moves aimed at building a more formidable, well-rounded roster. If the whispers hold any truth, This story is shaping up to be not just a player transfer, but a defining moment in the strategic evolution of one of the NFL's most ambitious teams. Rumors surrounding MAILATA's potential impact in Buffalo extend far beyond the immediate implications for the offensive line, with sources indicating that the quarterback room dynamics may be profoundly affected. Whispers in the league suggest that MAILATA's rumored presence could allow the Bills' quarterback greater freedom to execute complex reads, offering both extended time for passing decisions and the potential for more aggressive downfield strategies. Analysts are reportedly intrigued by the notion that MAILATA's unique combination of mass, agility, and technique could neutralize elite pass rushers, fundamentally altering defensive game planning in ways that ripple across multiple aspects of the game. Insider speculation hints that Buffalo's offensive coordinators are already conceptualizing play designs that maximize MAILATA's strengths, while Philadelphia observers are pondering how to replace the void left by his departure, sparking broader debates about the importance of offensive line dominance in modern football. The rumor mill has also touched on potential locker room influence, with some insiders suggesting that MAILATA's presence may bring an additional layer of leadership and confidence to the Bills' offensive front, creating an intangible effect on team morale and cohesion that could be as impactful as his on-field contributions. Social media speculation has taken on a life of its own, with fans projecting matchups, comparing past performances, and debating whether MAILATA's rumored arrival could finally elevate Buffalo to the elite tier of NFL franchises. Even rival teams are reportedly taking note, assessing potential countermeasures and scouting adjustments in anticipation of a game-changing addition that could shift the balance of power. The ongoing buzz suggests that if these rumors are accurate, MAILATA's move could mark a transformational moment in the league, with strategic, psychological, and tactical reverberations that extend far beyond a single position or team. The purported acquisition of Jordan MAILATA by the Buffalo Bills is stirring conversations that blend sports speculation, strategic analysis, and cultural intrigue, creating a narrative that rivals the most dramatic off-season rumors in recent memory. Observers suggest that MAILATA's rumored arrival could redefine expectations for what an elite offensive lineman can accomplish, challenging conventional wisdom and inspiring coaches to innovate in ways previously considered risky or unconventional. Rumors hint that Buffalo's management may be envisioning a domino effect, where MAILATA's dominance allows the team to redistribute responsibilities across the line, experiment with unconventional formations, and implement aggressive blocking schemes that capitalize on mismatches. Insider chatter also points to potential psychological effects, with MAILATA's presence rumored to instill confidence throughout the offensive unit, inspiring quarterbacks, running backs, and fellow linemen to perform at elevated levels. Meanwhile, whispers from Philadelphia suggest that the Eagles may confront a season of adjustment, scrambling to fill a gap created by a lineman who combined physicality, technique, and presence in ways few others can match. Social media is alight with speculation, with fans, bloggers, and analysts dissecting every angle, from salary cap implications to projected statistical improvements, turning what might normally be an under-the-radar transfer into a full-blown narrative sensation. Even casual observers are reportedly captivated by the idea of a human wall redefining an entire offensive identity, creating a buzz that extends into mainstream discourse and media coverage. If these rumors hold any truth, MAILATA's transition could serve as a template for future roster-building philosophies, sparking league-wide reassessments of the value of offensive linemen, the role of physical dominance, and the strategic advantages of redefining traditional positional expectations in the NFL, making this story one of the most compelling and discussed topics of the season, as whispers continue to build into an almost tangible anticipation of the spectacle to come. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.